Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
You couldn't cover the posse.
Posse of Monk, Gary Clark, and Ricky Sanders.
The Redskins' diverse offense benefited from a trio of talented receivers. Art Monk.
Okay, my name is Art Monk.
Monk was born on December 5th, 1957 in White Plains, New York.
Art Monk was the Redskins' #1 draft selection in 1980.
From Syracuse, number 81, the Washington Redskins.
He was a great receiver for the Redskins from the late 70s through early 90s.
Back is Theismann, fires it near side. Monk, bye-bye, touchdown, Washington Redskins. Monk is wide open for a touchdown.
Art Monk was such a danger. If you were a defense, you had to double Monk. And that left Sanders and Clark one-on-one.
And usually there's not enough footballs when you got this many great football players, but here comes this speedster, Ricky Sanders.
Sanders was born on September 30th, 1962 in Temple, Texas.
Ricky Sanders from the Washington Redskins, number 83.
In college, Sanders played for Texas State.
What kind of guy was he to play with?
Ricky was a quiet sort of guy, kind of very humble, very kind of stayed in the background a little bit, didn't complain about anything. That's the other thing. Gary Clark he complained about everything. He wanted the ball all the time. He was wondering why the ball wasn't thrown to him or whatever. But in any case, Ricky was just the opposite. Didn't complain about nothing. If he threw him one ball, he didn't complain. If he threw him 10 balls, didn't complain. And this sort of stayed in our shadows a little bit until I got hurt, and then he was pushed to the forefront and really made a big explosion in the Super Bowl.
Fires it into the end zone, touchdown! Wide open at the 5, touchdown!
And Gary Clark.
My name is Gary Clark, NFL legend and two-time Super Bowl champion for the Washington Redskins.
Clark was born on May 1st, 1962 in Radford, Virginia.
What kind of teammate was Gary Clark?
Extremely competitive.
In college, Clark played for the James Madison Dukes at Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Gary Clark, one of the great Redskin players, wide receiver, and one of the Posse.
Got him on the run, it's Clark, horse race.
Gary Clark burned out treadmills at Redskin Park. When he decided he wanted to play football, his dad said, okay, you're going to have to be able to run. So he would put him out on a country road in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and follow him in a car. And if he slowed down, he'd get run over.
Probably out of all the receivers that I played against, he was probably the toughest and the most competitive out of all.
And he's going to throw another fly pattern. There he is, touchdown.
Sanders, Clark, and Art Monk.
Known as the Posse, the three men formed a devastating receiving corps.
And he's going to throw another fly pattern. There he is, touchdown.
Individually, Ricky Sanders, Gary Clark, and Art Monk. Collectively, the Posse.
Back is Williams, looking right. Fires it into the end zone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
How'd you like being part of the Posse, you, Art Monk, and Ricky Sanders?
I could not ask for two fellow receivers to be a part of a group with. Having Art and having Ricky sure made my job a lot easier, and I hope having me made their job a little bit easier as well. And anytime you got Art Monk and Ricky Sanders, what more can you ask for as a receiver to be in that same tandem and that grouping? And it was just a fun time to be a receiver with this team.
The Colts might have done it most recently, but the Posse was the first trio of wide receivers to each eclipse 1,000 yards receiving in the same season.
Posse was great.
You had three perfectly complementary receivers, so you were pretty much picking your poison. Anybody could have that great day, depending on how the defense was playing.
Grabs it, touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Monk was like the muscle car that was great at key possessions. Clark was sort of like the small little sports car that could go in and out, nooks and crannies. He had deep threat as well, but Sanders was just pure speed.
Speed is great.
He would run by you as he did the Broncos in that Super Bowl.
Ricky, Doug Williams, 5 touchdowns in the second quarter, blow out the Broncos. You caught 2 of them.
Got Sanders in the fly at midfield. He's gone. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Sanders set Super Bowl records with 193 receiving yards.
What was that like to play in that Super Bowl and be behind Doug Williams and throwing all those touchdown passes?
It was a dream come true. You know, I was a young guy playing, you know, Pee Wee League. You know, you always think of going to the Super Bowl as the main pinnacle of your career. And, man, for me to get out there and catch 2 Super Bowl touchdowns from Doug Williams, it was awesome.
We coming back, we're going to do it.
Oh, just fake this time. Faked out everybody. He's got Sanders in the clear at the 10. Touchdown.
Posse, you couldn't cover the posse. No way.
Sanders in the clear at the 10. Touchdown, Washington Redskins. That's a new Super Bowl record.
Who lit up that second Super Bowl championship team, and there's 35 points in the 18 plays.
Got a man. Diving catch. Touchdown.
Art Monk dropping a pass was like something you document. I don't 3 passes he'd ever dropped, I remember. He was an absolute clutch player.
He played his games in total silence. He didn't trash talk on the field. He just wanted his play on the field to do the talking.
He was just Mr. Clutch. He was an absolute clutch player. Very quiet guy that he was deceiving.
I think I was born with good hands. I think that's probably my best natural asset is catching the ball. The other things I feel like I had to work on, you know, I remember coming up through school, I joined the track team to really develop and help me with my speed and quickness. I used to be kind of heavy and chubby back then also, so I kind of slimmed down and got better in that area as I grew up. My parents, a couple of coaches, and a couple of teammates have really inspired me and really have taught me that you know, things don't come easy. You gotta work for them.
The thing about Monk is he was a great possession receiver. Very intelligent, knew where to be on the football field.
Looking in the end zone, got a man, throws it, touchdown, Washington Redskins. Oh, he threaded the needle right there.
He also set a Redskins single-season receiving record one year, 1984. He had 106 receptions that year.
Back is Theismann, straight drop, steps up, fires it down the far side. He's got it complete to Monk. There's the record at the 30. He's down to the 20, inside the 20, and out of bounds at the 17.
When you think about some things with Art Monk, back in 1984, he caught over 100 balls.
Art Monk has just broken the National Football League record for receptions in a single season.
He was the first to catch 900 passes, the first to catch a touchdown pass in 15 straight seasons, and held the single-season reception record for 8 years.
I really love the camaraderie of the guys, being around the guys in the locker room, still love being out there on Sundays, still get excited, and that's what really drives me.
But for Art Monk, it wasn't how many passes he caught. What was more important was when he caught them.
And he did this with 2 things. Number one, a running football team. This was a running football team first, and he did it without ever having a Hall of Fame quarterback.
We led the league in yards, completions, touchdowns. We're leading everybody. We have the best offense in football. Art Monk's one of the greatest football players to ever put on a Redskin uniform. He was the guy that would always come up with the big catch when we needed it.
Steps up, fires it down the far side. He's got it complete to Monk. There's the record at the 30. He's down to the 20, inside the 20, and Art Monk has just broken the National Football League record for receptions in a single season.
Art Monk he's one of the best receivers that's ever played the game, but he's not a flashy wide receiver. You just didn't see him run by everybody and go down the sideline, yet he'll catch over 100 balls every year.
A graceful wide receiver named Art Monk, who was tall enough to play over a cornerback's head.
He was more of the possession receiver, whereas Clark and Sanders were more of the deep threats.
Throw it down the middle of the Monk. Touchdown!
To me, what's really amazing when you have 3 receivers like that is that you're able to keep them all relatively happy.
Touchdown!
Redskins always did a pretty good job of that.
What an incredible catch by Gary Clark!
How much fun would you have in today's football right now?
Ooh, all I can say is ooh.
He took the ball all the way down towards the end zone.
Avoids the pass rush, going deep on the fly to Clark. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
No way. You double team one guy, you got these other guys wide open, and they could burn you.
Sweet baby, right?
Rolling out to the near side is Rippon, who steps up and throws it long for Clark at the 5, grabs it, touchdown, Washington Redskins.
What else you want to know about the Posse?
Washington strolled to the NFC Championship, outscoring their 2 playoff opponents by a combined total of 48 points.
Some critics say that 91 team is one of the greatest teams ever.
We must have been 75, 80% on capitalizing on big plays. That says a lot. One, a receiver's got to have an ability to get open.
That was a heck of a team.
Yeah. How did that group form? How did the personalities meld in such a way that we didn't have, like Terrell Owens and Ocho Cinco out there, flashing around? How did that work?
I guess it started from Joe Gibbs. This guy, he was just a great leader, and we didn't really argue a lot on our team. We had a lot of guys, a lot of spiritual guys, a lot of guys that just wanted to win. We was unselfish, especially with the Posse. If Art would catch 8 balls one week and I catch 2 and Gary catch 3, we don't get all upset. Next week Gary catch 10, I catch 8. So it was just a tight-knit group.
I am not afraid. They are not afraid.
Hey, amigo, you know you've got a face beautiful enough to be worth $2,000?
Yeah. But you don't look like the one who collected.
pistol's a dead man. Let's see if that's true.
I am not afraid. They are not afraid. You blow up the wagon, you die.
There's a person close to you who told me years ago that after the '91 Super Bowl, you went back to your room and went to sleep instead of going to party. Is that the truth?
That's the truth.
That's a level-headed man.
After the Super Bowl, we had an opportunity to go to the White House and present President Ronald Reagan with a football and a jersey.
Now you meant you were at the White House twice.
We talked about the Super Bowl with the 2 touchdown passes. What's your pinnacle play in your career? Which play would that one be?
Probably the one when Ronald Reagan threw me the ball and I caught it.
In '88, there was an iconic moment where Ronald Reagan actually threw you a pass.
They came in and said, "Rick, you're going to go in last. The president going to yell your name and you come out and catch the ball." I'm like, "Oh, all right."
My nigga Ronald Reagan. That's Ronnie Reagan, baby, a young Ronnie Reagan.
Famous for Ronald Reagan saying, "Where's Ricky Sanders?"
Yeah. He got to the mic and he said, "Where's Ricky Sanders?
Where's Ricky Sanders?
Where's Ricky Sanders? Where's Ricky Sanders? Where's Ricky Sanders?"
And the crowd went wild.
He's a good dude.
I know that Steve Largent is just as excited as me breaking this record as he was when he broke it. And he's glad for me to have this opportunity to break it.
The key to breaking the record is being able is longevity in the league. The average career is 3 years, and now it's well over 10. And you have to take care of yourself. You have to remain healthy. And I think it's been a definite advantage for him to play with one team, as I did for so many years.
I just hope that I can uphold the record, do it justice the way that he did. And I know at the same time when someone else comes along to break this record, I hope that I'm able to have that same enthusiasm, and I'm sure I will.
Well aware of what he needed. The game well in hand, and he's what a memorable moment. They're going to give him the ball yeah. They give him the next one, too.
Well, Art Monk had 940 career receptions.
And all eyes are on number 81. Art Monk needs one. Rippon is back. Looking for Monk on the out pattern. He's got it at the 27. There it is. Out of bounds at the 23. Art Monk is now number 1.
Oh, how sweet it must be.
The most prolific pass receiver in the National Football League's history.
Good things do happen to good people. The man who's caught more passes than any player who's ever played the game. Let's get ready, Canton, Ohio.
The crowd is on its feet. They should be. What a great record to break, and a well-deserved honor for Art Monk.
When he retired 16 years later, he was the NFL's all-time leader in pass receptions.
Despite ranking 6th all-time in career receptions, the Posse's ringleader was passed over for the Hall of Fame 6 times.
The fact that Art is where he is still in receptions in the history of this game is phenomenal.
Now, in my opinion, the reason why it took 8 years for Monk to be inducted into the Hall of Fame is because of his lack of touchdown catches.
That all changed in 2008.
Monk was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008.
Art Monk got in. That's pretty neat. I know it's been a long wait for him.
Art Monk, Hall of Famer in 2008. What a wide receiver.
Yeah, Art Monk, you know, underrated for much of his career. Took him a long time, Mark, to get in the Hall of Fame.
You've been nominated for the Hall of Fame, I hear?
I have many times, but I've never quite been able to get in. So, but we got Art Monk in, so that's the most important thing.
This guy caught 106 passes, and I was looking at the back of his football card, and I was always used to seeing guys catch like 55 balls. Like 106, my mind couldn't process it. He retired as the NFL's all-time leading receiver.
Being able to be part of the Posse, playing with Ricky Sanders and Art Monk, would be a thrill with anybody. And it made my job really easy. Anytime you got two great receivers like Hall of Famer Art Monk, and who should be in the Hall of Fame, Ricky Sanders, it made my job extremely easy. So it was a wonderful thing to be a part of.
You're in our Hall of Fame, and that's all that matters. Can I get a hell yeah on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Wait, Blondie! Listen, Blondie! Hijo de una